There are four methods. The first method is the most easiest, is difference of greatest common factor. So please don't be offended. This is a sixth grade topic. When you first were introduced, greatest common factor was a sixth grade topic. So when I would teach this to middle schoolers, I would say first thing you need to do is to break everything down to prime factors. 15 is 3 times 5. X squared is x times x. Y to the third is 1, 2, 3 y's. 30 is 2 times 3 times 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, minus 45, which is 3 times 3 times 5. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 y's. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
That's broken down to its prime factors. That's how it actually should look. And then mathematicians got together and made shorthand, so they came up with exponents, which is a shortcut for repeated multiplication, so that way we didn't have to write this out all the time, because that would get really, really cumbersome. And then all we need to do is circle what all of them have in common. So they all have a 3. Do they have any other numbers in common? And they all have a 5. You guys okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
So 3 times 5 is?
15.
Okay, so I know that there's at least a 15 on the outside. Okay? How many x's do they all have in common? 2. They all have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So they all have an x squared. Okay? Last one, how many y's do they have in common? 2. Good. So they all have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? So they all have a y squared in common. So what's left over? Everything that was not circled. So y, 2x, 3x squared, y squared. And that is how you would answer that in completely factored form. Okay? You guys okay with that? Next one. This guy. I'm going to answer this guy, this guy, and this guy the exact same way. The exact same way. First question you need to ask yourself, does it have a greatest common factor? Does it have something they all have in common? Outside of 1, no they don't. So the first step I'm going to do, step 1. Step 1. I'm going to multiply the two outside numbers together. What's outside right here? What number is outside of x squared?
1.
1. This is 1 times negative 10, which gives you a negative 10. That's step 1. Step 2. I find out the factors of 10. Factors of 10 are 1 and 10, and 2 and 5. You guys okay with that? Step 3. If two numbers multiply together to give you a negative, if two numbers multiply together and are negative, then one is positive and the other one is what? Negative. So it means I'm going to have one positive and one negative, and they have to equal a positive 3, the number in the middle. That make sense? So, what are the factors that add to give me a positive 3? Factors of 10. Yes, ma'am. How about positive 5 and negative 2? That make sense? Okay, now, as long as 1 is your coefficient, that's all you have to do. And your final answer will be x plus 5, x minus 2. And that's all you do. So long as the x squared has a coefficient of 1. Okay? That's all you do. You can do more, but there's no need for it. What if what number is prime? Oh, then you would, chances are if it was prime, then the only possibilities for factors are 1 and 5, or 1 and 3. And then if it doesn't work, then it's not a factorable problem. We have to use some other means, like completing the square or quadratic formula. Okay? Next one, same idea. Ask yourself, do they have a greatest common factor? Answer is no. So I multiply the two outside numbers together. Same step 1. I get 6. Factors of 6. Step 2. Factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Everybody okay with that? Now it's plus plus, which means that both factors have to be what? Both factors are going to be positive, and they have to add to be 7. Which one of these two will add to be 7? 1 and 6. Okay? Now, my coefficient is not 1, so I have to do something else. So I'm going to make my, in this case, I'm going to make the, do the area model, which, like I said, you can call it whatever you want. In my class, I call it the Fuquay, because a fellow named Alan Fuquay showed it to me, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I just named it after him in my classroom. First term always goes here. Last term always goes there. Everybody cool with that? These two go in these two boxes in either order. So we have an x and a 6x. And then once again, you're going back to using greatest common factor. Left to right, top to bottom. What do these two have in common? They have an x. What do these two have in common? A 3. What do these two have in common? 2x, good. And what do these two have in common? Nothing. So if they have nothing, they automatically have a what? Not 0. Remember, this is multiplication. Multiplication, they have a 1. If it was an addition, then yeah, we could say they all have the additive identity, which is 0. But they all have the multiplicative identity, which is 1. Okay? So my answer here is 2x plus 1, x plus 3. Done. Okay? Last one. This one only has 2 terms. These both have 3. Well, what do? Well, there's no p in here. So how do I write no p as mathematics?
Just don't put it.
I'm going to put something. A 0, yeah. So I'm going to say 25 p squared plus 0p minus 49. Okay? Now the number in the middle, it's there. It's just a 0. Multiply the two outside numbers together. Someone with a calculator. 25 times negative 49. 25 times negative 49. Somebody go like, really, dude? Really? Really?
Negative 1,225.
$10.25. If you have 49 quarters, how much money you got? $10.25. Your pants are
It was
really
225.
Heavy.
225.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, $12.25. Even better. More money. Yay! Because it costs so much to go to the arcade nowadays. Anybody go to the arcade still? No? No skee ball? Do you get tickets from it? Do you go like turn it into his mom and be like, I want a cupcake. I got 10 tickets. It'd be sweet. All right. Now, it's plus and minus, which means since it's plus and minus, multiply to be a negative, add to be a positive. One factor has to be plus, the other one has to be negative. And they have to equal 0. Since they have to add together to be 0, they both have to be the what? The same number. So, take 1,225 and take the square root of it. What is the square root of 1,225? And the smart kids out there are going, 35. Go ahead, trick it. Trick it. Square root 1,225. Squirt of 1,225.
35. There you go, Scott. It's all right.
Check it.
Okay.
He didn't. He just threw it out there.
Here, you do it.
Nope, nope. Make a pause for
My
station
hands are full.
identification. You'll notice that there are a whole bunch of calculators over here that people just aren't grabbing. Someone's like, look, there's one missing. I know.
It says error. Error. 0. Can you just grab one and do it?
That's pretty fast.
That's way too close. Yeah, this is 35. I got it.
Okay, 35 and 35. So I take my box one more time, or my window, or my whatever you do. 25p squared, 35p, negative 35p, and then minus 49. What do these two have in common? They both have a 5p squared. What do these two have in common? They both have a negative 7. These two have in common a 5p, not a squared, just a p. And this top to bottom, what do these two have in common? A plus 7p. So I end up with 5p plus 7, 5p minus 7 is my answer. Done the exact same way. Done the exact same way. Doesn't matter. Okay?